Good morning, students. Good morning to all. And last day we have studied about the economic thinkers, the contributions of economic thinkers in economic development. So in this chapter we have studied about the economic thoughts of Ambedkar and the Gandhijians and the Valluvers. So today another one of the economic thinkers are there. So Amartiya Kumarsons. So today we will study about the economic thoughts of Amartiya Kumarsons. Today we will study about the economic thoughts of Amartya Kumar Sens. So Amartya Kumar Sens, certainly we will know him the Amartya Sens. He is one of the Indian noblest economists. So the noble citizens refers to Sen's contributions. Sen's contributions means the Amartya Kumar Sen's contributions to the social choice theories. Development economics study on poverty and famines and the concept of entitlement and capability of development. So he also got one of the Nobel Prize in 19 somethings. So he also provided many economic thoughts and ideas to the improvement of economics to our India. So some of under the headings we can know about their economic thoughts. First one is poverty and famines. So since poverty and famines, an essay on entitlement and deprivations. So how the poverty is created on the basis of their income is explained by the Amartya Kumarsons. The entitlement and deprivations is both a theoretical and applied work. So in the book, several famines have been studied in the working of general theoretical framework from an original angle. He examined the various meaning of poverty and draw the attention to the incidence of absolute and relative deprivations. How the poverty was created and the deprivations were there is explained by the Amartya Kumarsons in his book, The Entitlement and the Deprivations. And poverty and inequality. So, Sense has carried out massive work on poverty and inequality in India. So, normally we have studied the poverty and inequality only will create the most dangerous situations in our economic development. So, since major point has been that the distribution of income consumption among the persons below the poverty line is to be taken into the account. The distribution of income and consumptions among the persons below the poverty line is taken to be considered. So, but most of the persons are not having the consumptions and the normal or the reasonable income. So when we have or when we providing the reasonable income to that all the peoples, those who are living below the poverty lines, then poverty and inequality will be disappears. Next, the concept of capability. The concept of capability is developed by Sense has been cited as a better index of well-being than commodities or utilities. So capability as defined by Sen is the ability to transform raw license primary goods to the achievement of well-being. So the concept of capability means so all the peoples the government have to make all the peoples to consuming from the basic necessity of life to luxury goods. Next, entitlement. Entitlement means the rights. So the government have to providing the all rights as equalized. So Sen has included the concept of entitlement items like nutrition, food, medical and healthcare, employment, security of food supply in times of famines, etc. So the government has to make the possibilities and the chance to getting all these rights as equalized. He considered famine as arising out of the failure of establishing a system of entitlement. So suppose if any things or if any one of things as below or above, if it is not able to getting the peoples throughout the world, it will be creating or it will be pave the way to arrest the poverty. Next, choice of technique. The Sen's choice of technique was a research work where he argued that in a labor surplus economy, the generation of employment cannot be increased at the initial stage by the adoption of capital intensive technique. So, the Sen's advised to the government to make the labor intensive capital, labor intensive industries. So we have the two type of the choices, the labor intensive productions and the capital intensive product method. When we are adopting the capital intensive product method, so many of the peoples will be deprived their employment opportunity, and the surplus labor also will be going to the agricultural, and the productivity of the agriculture also will be less. So mostly, even we have the possibilities to adapting the capital intensive techniques, we have to adapting the labor intensive techniques to the productions. So under the 5 points, we can come to know about the thoughts of the Amartya Kumar Sen's. And not only that, more than just an economist, the Amartya Kumar Sen is an ethical and the philosopher. He is a lover of freedom and the humanist. He was focused on the poor, viewing them not as the object of pity requiring charitable hand, but as disempowered folk needing empowerment. Education, health, nutrition, genders, equality, safety, net in times of disease, all are needed to empower peoples. Not only by the pity requiring, he advocated to providing the rights to getting all the peoples as a same voice. Okay, students, till the economic thoughts of Amartya Kumar Sen's, we have completed our chapter 7. So next we will go to the chapter 8. So in this chapter 7, if you have any doubt, please ask me in our intersections period. Okay. Now we will go to the next chapter. Our next chapter, chapter 8. So Indian economy before and after independence. We know very well about our Indian economy, how it was there before the independence and how it is there after the independence. Even if you are not knows about it, we will study in this chapter. This chapter discusses the major events that took place in India before and after independence. So India was a colony for long period. Do you know what is the meaning of the colonialism? So the colonialism refers to a system of political and social relations between two countries, of which one is the ruler and the other is the colonies. One of the domination nations, one of the slaves nations. So the poorest nations will be dominating the poor countries. So the colonial nations, thus the people living in a colony cannot take independent decisions in respect of utilization of the country's resources and important economic activities. So India had the bitter experience of colonialism. We know before the independence we were all the peoples were living under the colonialism. Next, Indian economy during the British period. How Indian economy was there at the British period. So India's sea route trade to Europe started only after the arrival of Vasco da Gama in Calicut, India on May 20, 1498. The Portuguese had traded in Goa as early as 1510. In 1601, the East India Company was started and the English began their first inroads into the Indian Oceans. So 100 years after Battle of Plassey War, the rule of the East India Company finally did come to an end. In 1858, the British Parliament passed a law through which the power for governance of India was transferred from the East India Company. So Britain had exploited India over a period of 2 centuries of its colonial rule. So on the basis of the form of colonial exploitations, economic historians have divided the whole period into the three phases. The name of the three phases is period of merchant capital and the period of industrial capital and the period of financial capital. So whatever happened in this every basis of period mean. First the period of merchant capital. The period of merchant capital was taken into the account from 1757 to 1830. 1757 to 1830. The only aim of the East India Company was to earn profit by establishing monopoly trade in the goods with India and the East India. So we know about the monopolies. So what is the main aim of the East India Company means to earning the profit. So how the easiest way to earning the more profit, as we have studied already, if we have getting the monopoly rights, we can have the more chance to earning more profit. So as by having their thinking, the East Indian companies had the idea to establishing the monopoly trade in the goods. Next, during this period, India had been considered as the best hunting ground for capital by the East Indian Company to develop industrial capitalism in Britain. By developing the industrial capitalism, the India had been considered as the best hunting ground. Best hunting ground mean, so what are the resources was there in India? Everything's all exploited by the Britain. And for that the East Indian companies also was helpful to the Britain. So all the resources are taken from here itself and they will make some of the goods and they will sell to that people. Next, when Bengal and South India came under the political shake of the East Indian Company in 1750s and 1760s, the objective of monopoly trade was fulfilled after the Bengal and the South India. Next, the company administration succeeded in generating huge surplus which were repatriated to England, and the Indian leaders linked this problem of land revenue with that of the drain. So some of the leaders also made the points of being linked with the land revenue. Above all, the officers of the company were unscrupulous and corrupt. So even if the authority persons and some of the officers are having the power to stop this unscrupulous trade, they also have some of the unscrupulous and corrupted persons. Next, the period of industrial capital. The period of industrial capital. The period of industrial capital is considered as a second base of the colonialism. So this period of industrial capital was from 1813 to 1858. So after the period of merchant capital is considered as a period of industrial capital. So during this period, India had become a market for British textile. So all the British textiles was sold in Indian market. So the India had become a market for the British textiles. So India's raw materials were exported to England at low price and imported finished textiles commodities to India at high price. In this way, Indians were exploited. So normally we have studied in our international trade the end report. Some of the raw materials will be exported to another one of the nations and they will be fulfilled. They will make them as a finished commodities and the finished commodities will going to import to the another one of the nations. But the England and in this period some of the raw materials was exported to the England at the low price and they have made as a finished product and at the same time it would imported in the India itself at a high price. So in this sense all the Indian peoples were exploited. So they bought some of the raw materials at a low prices from ourselves and they had imported and sold ourselves at a high price. Next, India's traditional handicraft were thrown out of gear. So mostly on the period of capital, so India's handicraft product was heavily demanded. But after arrival of the textile and some of the modern goods, the India's traditional handicrafts were thrown out of the gears. Next, period of finance capital. The period of finance capital considered as a third base. The third base was the period finance capital starting from the closing year of the 19th century and continuing till independence. So after the 19th century too, till the independence time is considered as a period of finance capital. So during this period, finance imperialism began to entrench itself through the managing agencies firms, export-import firms, exchange banks, and some export of capitals. So Britain decided to make massive investment to various fields, rail, road, postal system, irrigations, European bank systems and a limited field of education etc. In India by blending Indian capital. So Britain decided to make massive investment to the various fields. So now what are the important departments are undertaken by the Indian government? So on this all the sectors, the Britain decided to make the massive investment. And because of that, we got some of the uh, more benefit also, advantages. So railway constructions policy of the British led to unimaginable as well as uneconomic. The poor Indian taxpayers had been compelled to finance for the construction of railways. So before the independence also the Britain government was compelled the poor citizens to pay the tax for their government. The political power was handed over to the British government by the East Indian Company in 1858. So all the political power was handed over to the British government by the East Indian Company in 1958. So after that only, so the British government made us as a slave. Next, decline in Indian handicrafts. So before the 1858, so the demand for the Indian handicraft commodities were much more. But after that arrival of the British government and the markets, so the Indian handicraft commodities or the demand for the Indian handicraft commodities declines abundantly. And how it was declined in Indian handicrafts mean? The Indian handicraft products had a worldwide market. So Indian exports consisted chiefly of hand-weaved cotton and silk fabrics, calicos, artist wares, wood carvings, etc. So, through the discriminatory tariff policies, the British government purposefully destroyed the handicraft. If any of the government wants to destroy the types of industries, they will have one of the ideas, that is to implementing the new type of the tariffs and tax policies. The same idea only was taken by the British government also. By the discriminatory of the tariff policies, the British government purposefully destroyed the handicraft. So always the British government imposed the more tariff policies or the tax policies to the handicrafts. So the handicrafts was also unable to pay the tax to the British government. So because of that it was destroyed. Next, with the disappearance of Nawabs and kings, there was no one to protect the Indian handicrafts. When there is the time of Nawabs and kings, they were protecting the handicrafts commodities. But after disappearing the Nawabs and the kings, there was no one to protect the Indian handicrafts. So because of that also, the Indian handicrafts commodities was declined. Next, Indian handicraft product could not compete with the machine-made product. So the British government adapted the many techniques to produce any of the commodities, the machine-made commodities. But the machine-made commodities pass over the handicraft commodities produced by the Indian government. Next, the Indian handicraft products could not compete with the machine-made products, and the introduction of railway in India increased the domestic market for the British good. So, and not only that, on the basis of consumers' behaviors, so they had more desire to consuming the British goods. So, the introduction of the railways also helpful to bringing the domestic market for the British goods. Next concept is the land tenure system. The land tenure system. The land tenure system refers to the system of land ownership and management. So nowadays we have heard about one of the word, the lease. Some of the place, some of the garden also will be provided to the other persons to the lease. So in this event, the other persons, the third persons became as a ownership for particular time on the basis of lease. So the meaning of tenure is also the lease. So the land tenure system refers to the system of land ownership and the management. The features that distinguish a land tenure system from the others related to the following. So, what are the concept or on the basis of, or how can we say, some of the feature distincts are there. What are the distincts means? Who owns the land? Who owns the land? Next, who cultivates the land? After that, who is responsible for paying the land revenue to the government? If you are earning the income, we have to pay some of the tax to the government. Then who will responsible to for paying the land revenue to the government? So based on these questions, three different types of land tenure existed in India before independence. So they were Zamindari system and the Maghalwari system and the Rayatwari system. So we can classify the land tenure system as a three types. One is the Zamindari system, Maghalwari system and Rayatwari system. First, the Zamindari systems. So this system was created by the British East India Company when 1793. So Lord Cornwallis introduced the Permanent Settlement Act. You have studied about the Lord Cornwallis. So he was introduced the Permanent Settlement Act under this system. The landlords or the zamindars were declared as the owners of the land and they were responsible to pay the land revenue to the government. The share of the government in total rent collected was fixed at 10 by 11th, the balance going to the zamindars as remunerations. So, on the basis of the zamindari systems, the zamindars only have to introduce who is the owners of that land, and the landowner also have to providing the total rent collected as a 10 east 11. If you have the 11 percentage earnings, the 10 percentage have to provide that, and the 1 percentage going to the zamindars as a rent. Next, Maghalwari systems. So after introduction of this system, it was later extended to Madhya Pradesh and Punjab. The ownership of the land was maintained by the collective body, usually the villagers, which served as a unit of management. They distributed land among the peasants and collected revenue from them and paid it to the state. So, on the basis of Mahalwari systems, those who able and get the interested to cultivate the land, that persons only begin as a ownership of the land. Next, Raidwari system. This system was initially introduced in Tamil Nadu and later extended to Maharashtra, Gujarat, and Assam. So, under this system, the ownership right of use and the control of land were held by the tiller himself. So, there was the direct relationship between owners. The system was the least oppressive system before independence. So, before independence, the Raitwar system only is considered as a least oppressive systems because those who have the interest to cultivate or who is the real cultivator, he only is considered as a ownership of the land. He has the direct relationship with the owner. Okay students, I think it's enough. So today we have started the third lesson, the eighth lessons, before and after independence, Indian economy before and after independence. So if you have any doubt, please ask me in our interactive sections.